What up with it, fam?
Hey man, I know you ready to do the live shit, but when you doing that, put it on mute, dog. I hear you kissing and everything.
Straight. I thought this shit was on mute.
No, man, I can hear you kissing. I can hear shit moving around in the background. I said, look at this nigga, man. But all right, I'm at work right now, but I'm checking you out.
All right, no doubt.
Uh,
Yeah.
This is DJ White Gas, White Gas. I'm the hottest artist on the planet, T-Mall. Heinous here. Because I'm gonna let you know, if you in the water, you're gonna die. Illuminati dies here today, Mom.
It's a shark in the zoo. They say in Babylon, put the mark on them too. His whole body light so we can maul other guys. If my RC and I going dark on me too. And them coffers for you. I'm ready so the devil who I call out first. I heard God call, he said behind the great wall. He had made us all to kick them all off earth. Hey, so my click don't play. Haven't gotta choose the wolf or the lamb. Getting shot down by a pig in the street. Why you niggas gotta be when there's a whole lot of hell? Alright, it's a hole in the dam. They can't blood merch, so they shoot down gangs. Merc fly high, baby, Merc won't die. I don't see nobody here that can shoot down planes. It's like I shoot down veins. You're turning everybody in the hood to an addict. You in the 6th grade to a bully with a habit. Cause I'm a switchblade or a fully automatic. Let's go. It's only 2 ways out. Don't ever try to sit and think of running cause you can't know. It's only screaming die while you running out of tango. Screaming try bitch while you running out of bank. Cause my click don't pay. I'm probably in your range getting brain with the Simmons. The hoe act right like she came with an Emmy. She want black pipe cause she came with the Remy. Ain't your pain even in me. You probably wouldn't know where I blow back cause it's 5 knockouts when it's 5 cops out. Or it's 5 shots out from the big bad wolf. Better bitch gon' say that my click don't play. I do a clip in the cave but I'm probably in your range getting brain with the Simi. Better bitch gon' say that my click don't play. I do a clip in the cave but I'm probably in your range getting brain with the Simi. Better bitch gon' say this is the only way I know to handle this. A whole lot of guns and a whole lot of cannon.
Shots fired at Screw 2, but shots out to you carbon babies. This is your melanated warrior, Heru Heinous, and this is another installment of Facts Over Feelings. Leave your feelings at the door so we could get to the facts, because the facts are the only things that matter. And sorry about that. Oh, hit me too. Y'all probably heard me in the intro too. He was like, I thought the mic was off. I was in there using the bathroom and everything. Man, forgive me. We didn't even want to start it off ghetto when I'm intending to use this video to clarify this topic and stuff, and we starting it off on the ghetto tip. Y'all gotta forgive your boy Heru. But hey, listen, I'm gonna make up for it because I'm finna be dropping some earth-shattering information. We about to get right into it because we ain't gonna be holding y'all up. This is finna be extremely explosive because we're gonna have to clear some things up. I told y'all if this is the pinnacle or the height of this sort of information, then it's got to be expressed in such a way to where you take it in, you internalize it, right? Because if we give you information and it has no utility, we have not done our job. So before we get started, let me get some ones in the chat to make sure that we got you guys can hear me. So yeah, we gonna cook. Chef's like, man, turn that mic off next time. You know what I'm saying? But forgive me for that. I thought the mic was off, man. I'm trying to learn to be as professional for y'all as I possibly can, so. But yeah, let me see, obviously there's a delay. So I'm gonna wait till we get ones in the chat. All right, we got one, so let's cook. Let's get ready. All right, so one of the things that I want to do, because I believe this is extremely important, I know it's important, is that, we were talking about being symbol literate, right? We know that a lot of our people, the vast majority of people, not just our people, are symbol illiterate, right? And the thing is that most people don't know what this energy is, right? So even if you find people who think that they're symbol literate, they're way off in terms of what this energy is at the moment in time, because we told you how you can manipulate the energy behind symbols. We gave an example of the Nazis and the swastika. We know that that was originally not their symbol, okay? And then, you know, we told you how, especially now what we see in social media and everything like that, how we became the face of this degenerate behavior, because we don't know the power of signs and symbols, and we don't know, obviously we don't even know what the energy really actually is. So that's what leaves us further confused, right? But so what we did in the previous segment was we let you know what that energy was and really and what it actually looked like, that it was a whole science behind it, an ancient and occult science behind it that holds up this artificial matrix, right? And we wanted you to get an idea that that energy was everything, right? And when the energy took different different forms, it confuses people, because, you know, you're dealing with European science, which further confuses things because it compartmentalizes information. But when it takes these different forms, people really see it as something else. For example, because we're going to go slow, methodically. I noticed in the previous video I was rushing a lot. You know, I rushed to put that video together and I didn't like it. After I reviewed it, I said, nah, if this is supposed to be the apex in terms of this occult information, we have to make sure that we walk away knowing exactly what it is. And I felt like, as someone who is responsible for delivering this information to you, it wasn't up to par. So forgive me for that, but we rocking, and we're about to, you know, give it its just due. So the point being is, when you see the sexual energy, remember I was telling you, I said, man, this energy is all, you know, is the very driving force behind life in and of itself. And so what I should have done was I should have gave an example, and I did, but I didn't elucidate. I didn't go deeper. I didn't offer clarification. But to clarify just a little bit more, when you're dealing with sexual energy, you have to take a look at puberty. And puberty, we always say, and I say this, it turns a boy, I mentioned this, I said a boy to a man, a girl to a woman, right? But I didn't elucidate, because when you elucidate, you get a better idea of what I'm talking about, because all of this is right in plain sight, right? So when a boy, because obviously I've been a boy, right? So I know about this experience. When you're a boy and you're growing and your sexual hormones kick off, your androgens, right? These androgens allow for muscle growth, right? They make your voice deeper, okay? You grow what's called secondary sexual characteristics, facial hair, all of this different stuff, right? See, this is the point. This is the power of sexual energy. They even call it sexual secondary characteristics. There's no sex involved from how you see it, but there is at a molecular level, remember, because we told you when cells reproduce, they use the same energy as if a cell was reproducing with another cell from somebody else's organism or another body, a human body. You see what I'm saying? They use the same energy. Meiosis, mitosis uses the same energy, the sexual energy. So on one hand, you have sexual energy that can be used for procreation, and then you have sexual energy that can be used for just reproduction when the body's just creating clones of itself. But the same energy is used. This is important. So, you know, like I said, when you have people who talk about semen retention, they refuse to use that sexual energy in masturbation, you know, or, you know, even engaging in sex with another person, right? But they may go work out. You're still using sexual energy. You get what I'm saying? Whether you're using it to reach an orgasm or you're using it to build muscle and tone muscle, you can only tone muscle through hormones or sexual energy. This is the reason why having a one-dimensional view of this energy is so toxic and it holds you back. Then you can have people who run out here with these sciences, which are just an offshoot of European science that talks about how you can, you know, chop this energy off in this category and then somehow be good in this category in life. No, you have to understand that this energy is one energy. It just takes on different forms. It just takes on different forms. This is what's so crucial. And we told you that the end game for these individuals is to control Mother Nature's energy, which in turn is merely nothing but sexual energy. Now, as we said before, you know, because I'm gonna look at my notes from time to time to make sure I hit across the right points and stuff, because you know, some very important points, but like I said, we didn't center in on those in order to provide a lot of clarity, right? Because we're gonna go in, and this is gonna be more interactive in this segment too, because I'm gonna you know, go over some things, and then we're gonna watch a video. It'll be the video that we really didn't take a clear look at. So we're going to touch up on that. And then obviously we're going to go into some Q&A. We're going to interact with the FOS squad because this is going to be a live segment, but we're finna get this right. Now, as we said before, we're not excusing anybody when we talked about being the face of this degenerate behavior, because we heard about the names. We're not going to talk about them because I told you this is not a platform where we delve too much into entertainment, especially if we can't talk about the esoteric or occult side of the game. But we're not excusing their energy. We just did what we did in the previous segment was we wanted to let you know where the energy came from or where it comes from. And how these group of people feign ignorance as if they don't know where this energy comes from, this perverse energy, this degenerate energy. Okay, so we showed you individuals like Franklin Delano Roosevelt when he was at that, I believe it was a convention in 1884, where it was tradition to dress these young boys up as girls all up until they were 6 and 7 years old. So it shows you, and they said, and in the article it talked about how this was something they did for centuries, and at that time it was 1884. So do the math. Like we said, we showed you the key players in this game. We showed you how these individuals, like what was her name? Her name was Maria Orsic. Okay, she was a big part of the Aryan Nation movement, the German national movement, right? But we contrasted that to the reports, that was the unequivocal truth that as much as they were talking about how much of a superior race they were, their women were in a rush. They had the biggest population in terms of women who had babies with black men. So we showing you how you can't buy into the propaganda with these people. You can't. They'll feign ignorance. They'll act like they don't know what they're doing, but nothing could be further from the truth. So like we said, in the grand scheme of things, we began to realize that according to European science and also with the coupling of the energy the Blanco woman was putting into it too from her position, that they had to be seen as the acme of genetic superiority. This is where the eugenics movement came from, right? And so a big part of that, think about this, brothers and sisters, a big part of that is making the European woman the face of fertility. So we already know through European movies, TV shows, magazines, and I've shown you videos where the European woman is seen as the face of fertility. Even the goddesses are depicted as a European woman, right? And so we've seen videos where we showed you, we go over this, we don't mean to beat a dead horse, but we showed you how they pride her as being the ones who had the best genes, her ovaries, her eggs are prided and all that. But we know in reality, nothing could be further from the truth. But she is aware that this is a feminine dimension. Okay? We've already talked about that. We've already explained that and provided ample amount of evidence in order to support that outlook, right? She understands that. So with that being said, considering the fact that they name this Mother Nature, that they know that this is Mother Nature, who out of the Blanco man or the Blanco woman has the best chance to become a god while using the power of Mother Nature? The woman does. That's why, like I told you, in terms of the esoteric side, this Maria Orsic, Rosalind Franklin, who came up with the double helix structure, as she took a photo from a science called X-ray crystallography. Helena Blavatsky, head of the Theosophical Society. Margaret Thatcher. These names continue to keep going on and on. These women who are the driving force behind the occult. The driving force behind the occult, because they know that Mother Nature is a feminine energy, and the individual out of their group that has the greatest likelihood of achieving the highest level of Godhead would be the woman in and of herself. That's why I said the Blanco woman becomes the face of sexuality and fertility, especially through pornography. And then she maintains a close connection with the men, the boys who eventually turn to men, by becoming what? The nurturer. You know her as the teacher. She becomes the teacher or the face of nurturing in this society. And remember, that's for all races of this society. That's why they call it the grand experiment. There is no race of men that do not look at her as the standard of beauty, especially in this country. This is deep stuff, brothers and sisters. This is deep stuff. So, as we know, 85% of their women are the teachers in the school system. She's the face of sexuality through TVs, magazines, and images, and obviously pornography, which is the big thing. She has conceptualized or personified Put in human form Mother Nature's energy. Mother Nature provides you, obviously, with the mind and body connection. The mind, you feel good. These are sexual hormones. The body then plays out what the mind feels and is sustained by Mother Nature through her fruits or the sexual organs or energy given to you through the play between celestial bodies, the moon, the sun, and the earth. Okay, so she has fought tooth and nail to take that position, which means, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, with all the energy she has put behind this, she's not going to give it up. And now with this clarity, you can see why there's such a concerted effort to make sure the black man and black women are at odds with one another. There is such a concerted effort for this system to make sure that the black woman feels a particular type of way about herself, because they know that the one who has access to this energy more than any other organism on this planet is those who contain the highest level of feminine energy. Now, what does this mean? This just means that for those who know, we are in adoration. Those, especially if you consider yourself, like I said, to be a heterosexual male, you're in adoration of the black woman. She's a phenomenal organism. Okay? You already know this. So let's get some act right and stop acting like you can have an island full of men and the human civilization could survive. We know that when it comes down to it, all this technology going and all of that, when it comes down to humanity surviving, if a woman is pregnant and there's 5 men on that island, who's the most important person on that island? It would be that woman with that baby to carry on civilization. I'm pretty sure all you seen the movie Children of Men. If you haven't seen it, please watch that movie Children of Men. Please watch that movie Children of Men. Okay? Excellent movie. Excellent movie. Now, so, as we see, the reason why this is important is because, remember, like we told you, a large part, the reason why they're in close proximity, and what's a big way to get the energy? All right, what we said, we disclosed that the big way, we already know that they're emotional and energy vampires, which is essentially the same, right? Essentially the same thing. But we know that the Blanca woman has realized that in order for her to get that phenomenal plasma energy, or the highest level of plasma energy, it would be through seminal plasma. We've already discussed that. We've shown you that when a man ejaculates, the vast majority of that makeup, or that makeup is plasma. All right, only 2 to 5% is actually semen. So it's this powerful plasma. This is the reason why men don't have a hard time getting back up after they secrete this. Imagine, like, if you gave blood, if you give plasma, don't they tell you, you got to eat something, regain your strength, create more plasma? Same thing with the man. A woman is not secreting most of her plasma. Okay? This is why you get the blood flow and all that. Blood has plasma in it, all right? This is a no-brainer. But because it comes out looking different, it takes a different form. Once again, you compartmentalize it and you miss the point. And that's the worst thing that you can do. You see what I'm saying? And that plasma becomes a part of her organism, because we know that Crystal's primary job is to combine and to obviously crystallize or to bond with one another. Okay, so I'm finna go to the chat, because like I said, this is finna be a highly interactive video, because we finna put some work in. Right now, I want to ask you guys, when you were in school, we all had them chemistry classes, right? When you were in school, how many people familiar with, in chemistry, when they told you about bonding, covalent bonding, ionic bonding? How many people, I'm gonna wait in the chat, because like I said, I want us to understand these things, because even when I showed you that article, now mind you, this article, let me tell you guys something. That article that I showed you in the previous segment, with Rosalind Franklin, and it was talking about crystal clear, how she used X-ray crystallography. She sent that photo to James Watson and Francis Crick, the individuals who were discoverers of the DNA molecule. Now notice how the Blanca, this is another example of two things. One, how the Blanca woman gave them the information, then stepped out of the way. Why didn't you think that she would take credit? Why didn't you? Nobody knows about Rosalind Franklin. When you're in school, they teach you about James Watson, Francis Crick. They don't teach you that it's this woman who did this science, this occult science about how to look at crystals, and then gave them the structure for DNA. And you were taught about the men, because once again, she wants you to think that she's behind the scenes only. But as you know, as a conductor behind the scenes is always the best place to be. You better understand that. So the point being is that they took that article down. That article now is brushed. I've looked at it. I've waited. I've did it for like the last 3 or 4 hours. Tried to refresh that page. I've typed it in many different ways. That article, it doesn't even exist now. What I showed you guys. So I'm telling you guys, by the minute, they are sitting up there. I'm telling you, they know we own to something. Because listen, because that didn't exist, it doesn't matter. But I'm in the chat and I want to see. I want to see whether or not. Let's see. Let me refresh it, because I want to see how many of y'all had learned about covalent bonding and all this different stuff. Because I got to put the nail in the coffin on this. I got to show you how important this stuff is. Covalent bonding. How many have heard of that? Covalent. How many were taught that? If you took a chemistry class, biology class, you learned about atoms. They told you that they bonded covalently or they bonded ionically. How many have heard that? How many have heard that? I'll wait, because I'm still not seeing that in the chat. But obviously there's a delay on my end, so I'm gonna be waiting. I'm gonna be waiting because I want to interact with y'all on this one. All right. So let me see. So I don't know whether. All right, so yeah, Riz said he heard about covalent bonding. I'm not too familiar with covalent bonds. We don't care whether or not y'all familiar with it. We just want to know whether or not you've heard of it, so that you guys know this is something Blanco's been talking about. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. I want to know that y'all this was something that y'all was raised on, right? Okay, wasn't paying too much attention. It was mentioned. Harmichi. Hold on. This is going. Hold on 1 second. Let me lower the volume on this. All right. So that's the point, okay? So what I'm about to do, okay, so Albert 432 said, I remember from chemistry class. So you've all heard of these terms, okay? So I'm going to tell you what's the purpose of education, because education is the vehicle through which knowledge rides. Education is the vehicle that knowledge rides. So that's why I tell people to be educated by a group of people. You may have the same knowledge, but the way they steer the knowledge or direct the knowledge will determine how you see something, how you perceive it. This is extremely important, right? Okay, so we're about to take a look at something. But if this is a reliable source, obviously. This is the Encyclopedia Britannica. I'm gonna share my screen right quick. And I'm gonna get it ready, because last time we was all over the place. I just got those articles and stuff like that, but not on this occasion, right? We finna make sure we got everything ready and rocking and rolling and ready to go. And so let's get it. So I'm finna share my screen, okay? Share my screen right quick. And this is Encyclopedia Britannica, obviously one of the most reliable sources and stuff, okay? So types of bonds. This is smaller writing, so I don't know if you guys can see this, but this says crystal bonding. And at the bottom, it says different types of bonding in crystals. These four you see right here. You have metallic bonding. You have ionic bonding. You have covalent bonding. You have molecular bonding. So once again, you have molecular bonding. You have metallic bonding. You have ionic bonding. You have covalent bonding. In all of these bonds are crystal bonding. Different types of bonding in crystals. I am killing you niggas. So this is the point. This is what I'm telling you. When you in chemistry class, you don't never hear the teacher say, oh, well, yeah, these are crystals bonding. Crystals make covalent bonds. Crystals make ionic bonds. See, we wasn't taught like that. So unfortunately, what happens is we begin to, this is how we see the world. We think of these bonds and we think of these chemicals and these balls and stuff. And if you would imagine crystals, this would be a deeper and more in a clearer representation of what really goes on at that level. A clear representation of what really goes on at that level. And that's extremely important. So when we sit up here, we talk about being the crystallogians and all of this different stuff and crystal frameworks and knowing crystals and the right crystals to take in. Oftentimes we get looked at as if we're some tinfoil hat wearing individuals or conspiracy theorists, or, you know, we done went off the deep end. We're too much of the fringe. We're too controversial. But nothing could be further from the truth. You are closer to what reality was than anybody else. Than anybody else. You see what I'm saying? So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to show you, we're going to read another article to show you just how important these glucose, these crystals are to the brain. Because like I said, we're going to do a little bit of science, but trust me, brothers and sisters, this stuff is finna get really, it's finna be dope, right? It's finna be dope. We finna drop some high science, okay? Hold on, let me prep this right quick. Okay, because we want to go back to this this diabetes, this type 3 diabetes article and stuff. So let me share my screen right quick, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to go down to this part where it says surprisingly harmful ripple effects, okay? Now, it says, as far as how type 2 diabetes increases the risk of dementia, well, it's complicated. No, it ain't. For starters, high blood sugar leads to inflammation throughout your body and brain. So when you get these wrong crystals throughout your body and brain, it inflames the entire organism. It inflames the entire organism. Remember, we told you the power of crystals, its ability to refract light, bend light, all these different things so that you can get the correct messages. All right, we've already disclosed to you how powerful and how important the light is to the human body. We're talking about how the pineal gland operates off of this discipline. Okay, and we also told you, you know, how critical it is for the skin. Right, one of the main responsibilities of the skin is to absorb light. All right, through these crystals that we get in the form of sugar. So when people make an attempt to cleanse themselves, when people make an attempt to take themselves to the next level, and they're full of all of these wrong crystals, it's practically an impossibility. That's what we're letting you know. Okay, let's go on. With respect to Alzheimer's, this is a problem because chronic inflammation has been linked with the formation of amyloid plaques and tau tangles, abnormalities in the brain that are hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease, Dr. Small explains. In addition, insulin resistance, the hallmark of type 2 diabetes, can impair blood flow to the brain, which means brain cells aren't getting sufficient oxygen and nutrients for them to function properly. And then there's the added problem of insulin insensitivity in the brain. Simply put, just as insulin resistance plays out in the rest of the body, when there's impaired insulin signaling in the brain cells can't use glucose, their primary energy source, properly, and brain function suffers as a result. In case that isn't worrisome enough, when circulation to the brain is compromised, you're more prone to developing small strokes that can increase the risk of dementia, Dr. Small says. Meanwhile, type 2 diabetes can cause toxic proteins to accumulate in the brain, and it may impair the brain's ability to clear out waste products too, explains Suzanne Kraft, PhD professor of medicine and director of the Alzheimer's Disease Core Center at the Wake Forest School of Medicine in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Moreover, type 2 diabetes may compromise important brain functions such as the formation and maintenance of new connections between brain cells. Any way you slice it, the combination of these signaling, cellular, and functional changes adds up to a vastly increased vulnerability to cognitive impairment as you get older. So in other words, brothers and sisters, you continue to keep taking in their crystals, you will have Alzheimer's or some form of dementia, hands down. You'll have what they articulate as type 3 diabetes. There's no getting around it. So like we said, starving your body of these crystals, starving your brain and your blood of these crystals does the greatest harm. Okay? Does the greatest harm of all. And we talked about how, the wrong crystals not only impair function at a physical level, right? But obviously it prevents you from taking things to the next level. And we all have said that, and from those who are all into the deep science know how powerful the pineal gland, or the powerful position the pineal gland has in this ascension to the highest level, right? And we told you that the primary responsibility of the pineal gland is to secrete this powerful hormone called melatonin, all right? Your body's natural wonder drug, all right? Get that book. Most powerful antioxidant known to man, which just so happens to do what? Work on the gonads. Work on your sexual organs. These are the things they keep from you deliberately. We're going to give you two solid examples before we go into Q&A. One other way, right? I'm about to pull up an article. I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to see this. Now, in school, they teach you it's 12 cranial nerves. All right? But in reality, there are 13. All right, we're going to go to PubMed. Cranial nerve 13. All right? And I'm going to show you why they don't teach it. We ain't got it. You could do your research on cranial nerve 13. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I just wanted to bring this up because we ain't going to get into too much science. But we're going to go right down to the latter part of this paragraph so that we can be provided clarity on this situation. Okay? It says in this review. No, hold on. Let me go up a little bit more. The involvement of this trophic peptide as well as the nerves association with the development of the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal is your sexual organs axis suggests a primary. What does primary mean? You know what primary means. Suggests a primary role in reproductive development. Okay? Reproductive development. All right? This it says and in humans, disorders such as Kalman syndrome, it talked about, its role. So like if it's not there, it can lead to such disorders as Kalman syndrome. Or if there's obviously it's a problem with your 13th nerve, right? In some species, this enigmatic nerve appears to influence sensory processing, sexual behavior. So basically, like I said, reproductive development, sexual behavior. This is why this is not taught, brothers and sisters. So what's my point? Everything about this life, this existence, has to do with this sexual energy. Our problem is we see sexual energy one-dimensionally. It's not just for orgasms or procreation. Obviously, we know as we undergo through puberty, there's something called secondary sexual characteristics. It grows, boys' facial hair, their voice gets deeper, right? Muscle strength and all of this different stuff. This is sexual energy. It's just not used one-dimensionally. So they know that this is a sexual energy realm. You just have to stop seeing sexual energy as just pure sex, and then it will all make better sense to you, right? While we're talking about this, because unfortunately, especially in America, anytime you talk about sex, people go right to the act. They think less about the energy in and of itself. They go right to the act. Okay? And so, remember we told you in his science, his culinary sciences, he makes a concerted effort to shield you from the truth of these. We were just talking about this. My sister said this. I was just on the phone with my sister. We had some very powerful conversations, and we were talking about she was like, I was listening to a video, watching a video, and the guy had said, let me make sure I'm looking at the chat too. Well, I'm getting to Q&A, so I'm gonna look at the chat a little bit more too. So she said that the scientist in the video, he said, when you eat food, right? He said, you see how toxic the food is? He said, you know how? He said, because if you dug up a human body, and you're talking about human beings that obviously they said hundreds of thousands of years ago, they still have their teeth in their mouth. They still have their teeth in their mouth, right? He said, so how come you can dig up a human skeleton with the teeth still in the mouth, but yet in the diet we have now, people's teeth are falling out of their mouth? You telling me somebody's body could be buried in nature and be reinforced and be strong, yet you can be alive and your teeth will not stay in your mouth, but yet you can be dead and have a full mouth full of teeth? I'm telling you how powerful this Blanco food is in terms of destroying the human body, because you must know, like we said before, one thing that you got to understand is the reason that happens is because the earth carbon only bonds in diamond cubic form, in crystal formation. We told you that, right? It only bonds in crystal formation. So inevitably, the earth does that too. You ever been on the beach? You see rocks that have sand on it, crystals on it. These is what's called sedimentary rocks, right? You'll start to see these crystals on rocks. You'll pick them up and you'll see how crystals are bond on those crystals. A rock is a crystal. And you'll see other rocks and sediment and sand bond with those crystals to show you, life is showing you how it bonds. Okay? And so when the bones, which we know is calcium is a metal, all right? When the bones and stuff is in the ground, all right, it begins to bond with other crystals. That's why when you dig up bones and stuff, they call it being fossilized or crystallized, if you will. Oh, the Blanco got a lot of names for it. But you're looking at things crystallizing and preserving themselves. Okay? So when we eat from Mother Earth and get the right crystals, which we know the primary sources in these plants, then we crystallize in the right way. Then you see people having their cognitive ability long off into old age, right? And you see people being able to live life fully, not just take prescription medications and be well enough just to be bedridden. People are sick and tired of that. Okay? But first you must know what the energy is. All right? This is man, this is real key. Okay, so and when we go into that, so at the essence of it, this is a key concept I want you guys to remember. A chemical interaction is a crystal interaction. With that being said, let's go into this video just so that we can see this powerful symbolism right quick, because we didn't get an opportunity to see it. I thought I showed most of it, but that was the video I was actually talking and wasn't showing nothing, and y'all was like, bro, hey, Rue. Come on now. So we're going to take a look at this just one more time just to show you the power of this. Remember, a chemical reaction is a crystal reaction. A chemical interaction is a crystal interaction. That's all this stuff is. We preface this by 1976 Copyright Act, Section 107, allowances made for fair use for the purposes of commentary, criticism, news reporting, scholarship, education, but overall here at the FOF Squad, waking your ass up. So let me prep this video right quick, prime it. We already know there's going to be some ads a little bit here and there, but let's see what we got here. Hold on. Yeah, this is the wrong video. That's why. Alright. Said he lied to me. He said he was prepping. He got this stuff prepped. Listen. It ain't gonna take long. Let's get it. Alright, hold on 1 second. Let's start it from the beginning. Share my screen. Let's get it, you guys.
Most of us use crystals every day in the form of regular sugar and salt. When we look at these crystals under a microscope, not much is going on. But if we force the crystals to grow in a thin layer on a microscope slide and illuminate them with polarized light, it's an entirely different story. This little trick
so
also
look, like we said, look at this. This is normal crystals, sugar and salt. Remember, this is how crystals grow. Understand this, what this video is relaying to you. This is how this sugar and salt grows, or like you said, reacts with each other. This is what they do. And like he said, when we look at these things, we just, oh, it's crystals. We see it. It's so abundant. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. So because of that, we marginalize it and it becomes something that doesn't hold a lot of weight. But the reality is that this is exactly what we need to be paying attention to. Brothers and sisters, you see, so when this is what I want to show. I wanted to show you the images. When it starts off like he shows you, something that you're very familiar with. But ain't this look like, if you wasn't paying attention, this dang look like diamonds. Right? This sugar and salt. But you see that life it takes the same energy and creates a lot of different things. It creates, let me look at you right quick when I talk to you about something, because I got to say something to chemistry, but this is about us being alchemists, because I hope that's what you're here for. If you've been with the FOF Squad long enough, you already know I'm an alchemist, and you already know I'm big on alchemy, and I hope that you guys are too, because of one very important thing. One, remember I said that the worst thing that you can do is be caught in a philosophy or an ideological stance that doesn't allow you movement. It's stagnant, right? And it doesn't allow growth. People say, well, okay, you're an alchemist. Isn't that the same thing? No, because alchemy is built on a foundation where there are millions upon millions of different combinations of life energy. Limitless. That's why I love being an alchemist. You go and you look at the chemistry council, they'll tell you just that what they know of, the millions of different combinations of carbon that they put through, which they use in commercial applications, military applications, right? We use them all the time in our plastics, pharmaceuticals, and things like that. They let you know how carbon is and how it can change and stuff. So it's the basis of the foundation of this matrix. So with that being said, alchemy, like I said, is on a limitless foundation. That's number one. And two, like I said, too, when you see these crystals, hold on 1 second. Let me bring this up. Let me go back. Because before I make my point, you see these crystals, like I said, it almost looks like, these could be diamonds. You see what I'm saying? Because when you look at the periodic table of elements, the carbon-14 group, carbon, silica, germanium, tin, lead, they all have crystallization properties. It's the most important group on that periodic table of elements. And diamond just means Greek for invincible. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that if it's diamond, it's going to be hard. You can have something like diamond graphite. Graphite is what your pencil is made out of. Okay, but that's still carbon. So the diamond crystal can be hard as, the hardest substance on earth, or it can be diamond graphite and be the softest substance on earth. This is the beauty. This is the paradoxical nature of what you call chemistry, but what the ancients called alchemy. Okay? So that brings me to, also, like we said with chemistry, how he does this. Like I said, I was having a conversation with my sister, and I was telling her, because I got her the cinnamon. I was like, I got you, me and my sisters, we be on this kick. We like our own support group, me and my two sisters. We be going ham. We call each other a lot, and that's what's also essential, brothers and sisters, for you to have a support group. For even if you don't agree with everything, most people agree on health. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody knows, bottom line, if you're not here, everything else don't matter, right? So the point being is that we were talking about, me giving her the cinnamon. I bought her like a little care package or whatever with some cinnamon, the true cinnamon, the Ceylon cinnamon, and also cocoa. Now, shouts out to Q the Chosen One, because he even put this guy, said, I'm going to address it in the next segment, because he was like, which cocoa should we have? And this is going to show you two things. One, the power of alchemy, when you understand how powerful it is to know about this energy, and two, the power of the Blanco spells, literally and figuratively speaking. Let's get into it. Right? Let me prime this article right quick. All right, and so I'm gonna share my screen right quick, and we finna get into it. All right, this is what's the difference between cocoa and cocoa powder. All right, by Melanie Fincher, published on November 1st, 2019. Isn't it all just chocolate? If you've ever spent a minute or two browsing the candy aisle at the grocery store, guilty, then you've probably noticed the terms cocoa and coca. So I'm going to just say them like that. I mean, there's different ways where you pronounce it, so I know the FOS guy going to get on me. But I ain't, what I'm going to do is spell it out. One is C-O-C-O-A, and the other one is C-A-C-A-O. Okay? The one that ends with A is not the one you want. The one that ends with O is. Let's get into it. So basically, we're going to go down and we're going to show you. We're going to get to the meat of it. Cocoa powder and coca powder are very similar. The only difference being that cocoa is processed at a much higher temperature, and often packaged cocoa contains added sugar and dairy. Both start out as beans from the cocoa plant. Confusing, right? Which are separated from the fatty part known as cocoa butter. At harvest, cocoa beans are fermented to develop flavor and texture. So basically, that's what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you the rest of it. So you can go to that article if you want to read the rest of that information. But the only thing that is going to tell you is this. The one that ends with the O is fermented, and that's pretty much it. The one that ends with the A is fermented. It's also roasted. And most of the time with all products, it's also radiated. So remember, this is what we said. This is what me and my sister was talking about. When you don't get the right ones, and mind you, the spelling is different. So, hold on, let me bring up this article one more time, because I did forget to show this point. Did forget to make this point. I'm going to share my screen right quick. Because remember, I did a video about cocoa the last time. Told you theobroma, food of the gods. And I told you to get the Hershey's cocoa and the cocoa powder. Now, according to what I just told you guys, was I right to give you Hershey's cocoa as a start off if you didn't have enough money to get the more, expensive versions of cocoa powder, right? The one that spells C-A-C-A-O. I was right, because why I knew. Listen, you see here, Hershey's cocoa is the name of the company. It's spelled C-O-C-O-A. But the ingredient is 100% C-A-C-A-O. You see how you got to pay attention to these bottles, because they know that they want to give you this version, the COCOA, the highly processed, the roasted, and highly irradiated version, because they know that this is the food of the gods. So you got to get the CACAO on the title just to reinforce or just to know. But if you ever go get cocoa and you see this title, you got to make sure that the ingredient spells this way, CACAO. Because if the ingredient says COCOA, you have trash. You have trash, brothers and sisters, and you're not going to get these properties. So this is what's so cold about this point. You ever notice how we read these articles about these health benefits of cinnamon and cocoa, how theobroma is the God, it has God particles and it's God food of the gods, and cinnamon does all this, it lowers blood sugar, and it has all these antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-cancer, yada, yada, yada properties, but yet you don't feel them. Why don't you feel them? Because they make sure through their spell work and their framework that you would never know which one it is. So water just can't be water. Cinnamon just can't be cinnamon. Cocoa just can't be cocoa. Because he knows where the energy lies. He knows that if you start making your crystals right, oh, sky's literally the limit. Let me go to this chat. Right quick. Says, is there a book? Yeah, because now I'm finna start interacting with you guys. Yeah, Waba said a chemical interaction is a crystal interaction. Yes, that's of course. Is there a book you can recommend on chemistry? I actually recommend, it's a guy, I'm gonna put it in the chat because it's like a long little, I've been watching him so much, I actually forget his name, but he does basic chemistry, right? He does, the chemistry you learn in school and all of that different stuff, right? But unfortunately, I'm not even trying to toot my own horn, you guys, but it's not a lot of people that's going to let you know, or they're not going to put two and two together that this is crystals. But it's right here. The esoteric is taught. Remember, I gave you sources, Encyclopedia Britannica. They told you how Rosalind Franklin had actually went about figuring out what DNA looked like, which that really wasn't even. And I think I showed you guys a photo before, but if we have enough time, I'll go back and show you the DNA photo. They call it UFO photo. Actually, that's the actual name of the photo, right? So the point being is that, it's due diligence. And this is something me and my sister talk about. And this is something that you guys know I talk about on the FOS Squad all the time. If you don't have reading comprehension, even if you're reading what they're giving to you, it's going to go over our heads. Because unfortunately, how we see things is we see things in flesh and blood. Are you walking with me? We see things in flesh and blood. So it's hard at that level because we got to understand that our eyes at the level and the dimension that we're living at, we're not seeing things at the molecular level. So we're not seeing crystals. But you ever looked at the water and how the sun, as it shoots out crystals, it dances over the crystals on the water? And you're like, oh, look at the shimmering. You call it shimmering. But this is crystal play. This is straight crystal play. When the sun hits your eyes, you know the eyes are crystals. You know that. That's crystal play. This is all this is. This is a grand scheme of sexual energy. But unfortunately for you, because you see sexual energy just as procreation and just as an orgasm, you're missing the point. You see what I'm saying? They're never going to allow you to connect this. Okay? You're going to see chemistry as a whole bunch of formulas and all this different shit, which that is a part of the game, right? That's organic chemistry. You think test tubes, beakers, metallurgy, all that different stuff. And some people don't even think about metals when they think about chemistry, but that's a big part of it. But the point being is that you're never going to see it as crystals. If you're, like I said, if your chemistry teacher was in there telling you, okay, crystals bond and covalent bonding, crystals bond ionically, crystals bond metallically, you're like, what? Crystals? What are we talking about crystals for? What movie is this? What movie did you jump right out of Narnia or something? But no, that's why this is important. That's why we must have meetings like this, because we have to be able to put this, two and two together. I'm gonna go back to the chat again. Rich Ganesh says, how can we begin learning chemistry? Well, the building blocks come with just doing a little at a time. Me, like I said, I've been, involved in chemistry, being, the love of chemistry for, the vast majority of my scholastic career, right? Even when I wasn't really knowledgeable about how deep the science was. But I've been an alchemist for the last 9-10 years. Okay? But then that's levels, right? Because you got processes of alchemy, the alchemical trade. So it wasn't until the last 1 or 2 years that significant insights and developments have befallen upon me, right? Because like I told you, an elder told me, insight is better than eyesight. So this is what you yearn for. And then everything that I've known and things that I've gone through, I'm sharing to you guys so that you guys ain't got to go through the years and years of trial and error, right? And understanding that you got to mix the right crystals in order to create the highest alchemical experience, which is the great rebus or the great work, which is mastering or balancing feminine and masculine energy. All right, let's continue to keep going to the chat. Let's see. Riz said that it's a story that says in Brazil that the shaman ate a mushroom and it told him how to mix up ayahuasca in its proper form. Oh yeah, it's amazing that, like they said, then the two plants that you mix together to create this ayahuasca, they're like miles away from each other. You know what I'm saying? So, Europeans was like, how did you do it? How did you figure it out? They always do that. Look, brothers and sisters, it's a tribe in Africa where they're all about sexual energy. The men grow their penises around 13 to 16 inches, right? If the young boy has a penis that's shorter than 8 or 9 inches, he has to go on that voyage to where he eats the fruits and the herbs and the sexual energy to get it at that length. You see what I'm saying? So this tribe, a white dude came to this tribe to figure out how they did it. And, he stayed for the sexual orgies. His wife came, so you really know what they did. Oh, I got an amazing story. Y'all think I'm holding? Boy, I got some stuff I'm about to show y'all. This stuff gets deep. So he brings his wife and all of this different stuff. And he says that they didn't participate in the orgy, or his wife didn't. But you know how Blancos love that, what they call, they love to see black men have sex with their wives and stuff. But anyway, to make a long story short, he ended up, grafting himself in, to the tribe in terms of trying to get friendly with them, talking about how I brought them medicine and all this different stuff. Get out of here. You here for our medicine. So then he ended up getting the ingredients to the formula that the herbs and stuff that these African tribes were taking. And then he sells a pill called Savage Grow, right? And then called it Savage Grow. I can't make this shit up. Brothers and sisters. Can't make it up. But yeah, they are always in awe with our connection. But remember, we said this. We said if you are made of carbon is Latin for coal. Coal is decomposed plant material. Your blood runs off this plant energy called glucose. Okay, your brain runs off this plant energy called glucose, and your skin is made up of this decomposed plant material. You're a plant being, so who better than to have a connection to step up, where obviously would be us. You're a melanated being, but a step above that would obviously be the feminine principle, which is encapsulated in what we call the black woman, right? And you can, people talk about the arguments of whether or not she's God and all that. We ain't got to get off into that. We know from evidence like Henrietta Lacks. We know from the videos we showed you a billionaire sitting up there making or creating bidding wars for the black woman's ovaries, that whether she realizes it or not, or whether she lives up to her potential or not, she still holds God-like energy. I don't care how you cut, slice, and dice it. Because you're not knowledgeable of your energy you hold does not excuse the fact that you hold it. That's just like the law. That's just like if you murder somebody and you with somebody who murdered somebody, they're not gonna be like, oh well, yeah, you didn't know. You were with that person. You're gonna take some responsibility. It's going to be some charge. You see what I'm saying? Because there's guilt by association. So like when we're associated with the energy, there's already guilt. We already hold this energy. They already understand. They overstand this. So we cannot allow them to feign ignorance. All right. Let me look at this chat again. Albert 432 says when elements are turned into a gas from compressed in glass bulb and given electrical charge, it creates a unique type of light specifically to that element. I mean, this stuff is important. Just like how when you when we you take the noble gases, iodine, and what is the other one? Fluorine, chlorine. These are the noble gases. We know them in one sense, like bleach and all that different stuff. But iodine, even though it can be used for your thyroid, it also can be used to light up a lamp out your local bar. You see what I'm saying? They're neon gases and stuff can be used. Iodine can be used for that. This is chemistry. That's why I told you it can be many things, but it's the principal part of it. Its principal form is sexual energy. But don't get misled, because when you say sexual, we always associate it with simply just procreation and, like I said, orgasms. I'm going to show you how devastating the European outlook on sex is. Remember we read that article in the 1920s where it talked about the sexual revolution. Told you, and I don't know if I read that part, but obviously in that article it talked about how even the swimsuits was to the ankles of women in the 1920s, right? And they were fighting against that to be able to expose the skin. So you look at swimsuits now, look at the bathing suit. The bathing suit looks just like bra and panties. Now, mind you, in the 1920s, it went all the way down to a woman's ankles. But it looked just like a bra and panties. But a woman can walk on the beach in something that looks like a bra and panties and not feel like somebody, not feel any shame, right? But yet, a woman could be in her house and you open the door and she in her bra and panties. She be like, oh, I'm in my bra and panties. What the fuck is you at? You seeing the same shit when you're on the beach? But this just goes to show you how the Blanco understands that context is everything. Just like how you can look at a documentary about a tribe in Africa, all the women naked. But they like, this is educational. So because it's educational, my dick shouldn't get hard? Is that what you're saying? But they know a lot of power is in context. They know a lot of powers in context. And mind you, like I said, how they can get you to frame sexuality will be how you react to it. So we got a lot of sexual deviance. This just proves, if I could frame sex in an educational way like I do with African tribes, would you think you would have a lot of sexual deviance running around? Think about it. I can manipulate the sexual energy at the molecular level with the foods, and then I manipulate it through the media, through TV, newspaper, articles, and obviously music. So then I get you to react to sexual energy in a perverse way. But yet, as what we're doing right now, an example of this in terms of phrasing it or framing it through an educational lens, we're seeing sexual energy differently. We're not seeing it one-dimensionally, just in terms of procreation or just in terms of an orgasm. We're starting to see that this energy is what rules the universe. This is deep stuff, brothers and sisters. All right. So I'm going to go back up in the chat just a little bit. Chat just a little bit. All right. Yeah, because yeah, so these people tell you that you'll die if you don't check your teeth and clean it at least twice a year. You know what's so interesting is that's even something me and my sister was discussing, because she ran into aloe vera toothpaste and mouthwash, because aloe vera has the ability to repair your gum line, because your gum line recedes as you get older and all that different stuff. But remember, I was telling you guys how the sugars that you eat go right into the bloodstream. You got these enzymes in your mouth, amylase one, which is one in particular, and it starts to break down the sugar. But we know that sugar is so small that it doesn't have to go through your digestive process in order to be metabolized. It goes straight into the bloodstream. So remember what I told you, the teeth strength is this crystal formation, as calcium helps in this all, right? And we know calcium is a metal. So when you build with the right crystals, it's reinforced. You get strong teeth, strong bones. When you build with the wrong crystals, you get brittle bones. How do we know this? The Blanco got many articles out on osteoporosis. Porous bones being made where they shatter, brittle, okay? And he started to realize in some of these articles that some would say, and they telling the truth, obviously they're detractors, but we know who they work for, because we know the milk industry is huge. But he talked about how milk actually was the leading cause of osteoporosis. Milk, we know hands down, is the #1 health allergy in this country. Okay, but what are people allergic to? They're allergic to the lactose in milk. We just showed you. Let's go back. They're allergic to the lactose in the milk. All right, let's go back, brothers and sisters. We got to imprint this in our brain. Look what I'm showing you. Lactose is a crystal. When someone says you're lactose intolerant, they're saying you are crystal intolerant. You're allergic to a certain type of crystal. This is deep shit. Here it is right here. This is Encyclopedia Britannica. This ain't Hey Roo. Hold up. This ain't Heru sitting up here just talking in his basement like some crazy man. I'm not even in the basement, but you know, that's what we always associate with people with tinfoil hats in somebody's basement, concocting formulas and stuff, tripping. But I know that I'm an alchemist, and like in that movie Sonic the Hedgehog, that dude said, I've been mastering formulas while you was a baby spitting up formula. Okay? So I'm letting you know, without a shadow of a doubt, from this trusted resource, you looking at Encyclopedia Britannica, it's told you that these sugars are crystals. And you have to remind yourself, like we showed you evidence of, crystals come in pairs. So when you look, I'm about to go esoteric. I'm about to get y'all alchemical jewel. I'm about to get y'all alchemical jewel. So when you notice that crystals are the essence and life of energy. Remember I showed y'all that illustration of glucose and fructose holding hands? Glucose never comes without fructose. But remember, this is what the Blanco called it. Glucose and fructose chemically literally look like they're holding hands. And when the body takes it in, the body separates them. You're never, in nature, you're never going to have just glucose or fructose. Glucose and fructose are always going to be paired together like Osiris and Isis. Do you know where I'm going with this? Glucose and fructose are always going to be paired together like Osiris and Isis. So what the Blanco does in his mad scientist mindset in his labs, what he does is he goes in his labs and he takes out more of the glucose that he knows your body runs off of, the crystal that he knows you run off of, that your brain and your blood runs off of, right? And he keeps more fructose in. And you know what he calls it? He calls it high fructose corn syrup. Because fructose and glucose always come together. You must know that. Man, this is deep science, man. This is, hold up. Hold up. We dropping deep science here right now. All right. So this is one of the reasons why I want you guys to understand how important this is. You know, when we talk about crystal formation, all this is not pseudoscience. This is not, should not be, something that you should always associate with movies and sci-fi. You know what I'm saying? This is something that you have to understand is real stuff. This is, like we talked about, they commemorated this science with, the International Year of Crystallography. The United Nations did this. We gave you all of the resources. You see what I'm saying? We even talked about, off-brand things that we knew about, but we just never knew the technical side of it, right? We knew about malt liquor. We heard, we seen comedians make jokes about it. We've seen our uncles drink the stuff. I've even had a taste of it in my, a time or two in my day. But when you know that two sugars or two crystals come together, a glucose and a glucose make maltose. That's what malt liquor meant. Maltose is a sugar. It's a crystal. Okay? 1 second too, while I'm a process, because I got to show you all something else. Hold on. Hold on. Because you got to see this. You got to see this stuff. You can't make this stuff up. Now look, listen, I'm going to share my screen. And we went over this, but I want to show you guys this for yourself, because I'm going to just beat it like a dead horse. Look at this. This is menthol. An organic compound. What does organic mean? Carbon. Organic is anything that contains carbon. Okay? Now look at it. In its natural biological form, it's a crystal. Yet they put this crystal in your cigarettes. And they know, because we the crystallologists who smoke more menthol cigarettes than any other racial group or or so-called quote unquote race in this country. The crystallologians, because they know exactly what you are. And remember when I did that video, I showed you guys how they marketed towards you. Because we were discussing reparations in that video, and we talked about how the government is broke, and we talked about how if somebody really wanted reparations, they would go against these corporations which exploited and used our people and knew about our makeup and exploited us. Okay? Knowing our body is fiending for the right crystals. Knowing our body needs the right crystals. And they know as we continue to take on, remember, the number one metabolic illness, or the number one crystal illness on this crystal planet is diabetes. The inability to process the right crystals. That's essentially what this is. So you got to redefine your existence. Redefine your reality. And soon as you even looking at yourself as a crystal being, if I don't know about you, but that make me feel like Superman. And you notice why Superman was always surrounded by crystals. Because see, let's go into another high science concept. You know, you got so many individuals. You got so many individuals in the conscious community, and they'll even say this. We even heard some of our great teachers talk about this. But that's because a lot of them were not alchemists, but they knew of the power of alchemy. Like even Bobby Hemmett told you, he'd tell you hands down that the number one science was always alchemy. Especially if you've an avid listener to Bobby Hemmett, you would know that he said that multiple times. But the point is that a lot of us, when we heard about 666, first thing that popped in our mind was carbon, right? Oh, that's the devil, 666. We heard it's the number of the beast. But what you fail to realize in chemistry, for alchemists, we know that it's not carbon that they're talking about. You know what they're talking about? And they made a movie about it. They made the movie, and I just talked about it. It's called Superman. Superman, right? And then they named his crystals, they named his planet after the crystals that they're from. Their crystal is called krypton. And do you know, krypton is a real element in the periodic table of elements. And guess what its number is? 36. 3 6s. Okay? They were never talking about carbon. Carbon is the life on this planet. How can something be the devil when it's the very source of and very foundation of all creative processes? Nothing could be, to get that out your mind. They let you know where they're from. They made movies about this stuff. Remind you, that's where they hide their esoteric information. Krypton is a real element in the periodic table of elements, and its number is 36. Okay? So just to drop another jewel on your ass. You know what I'm saying? Because we cooking in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? Bama Girl says, that is why dancing molecules or crystals repair spinal cord injuries. So do keloids, meaning you produce too many. Exactly. You know, we talk about the kidney stones. They call them stones. Crystals, crystal buildup. This is all what you're dealing with. This is all what you're dealing with. And when you know how to repair, when you know that it's a crystal foundation, and remember, and like we said too, remember we told you, we said that these sugars, which are crystals, these crystals turn into fat, stored as fat, and this fat makes your hormones. Okay? And so if you have the wrong crystals, in turn, you have the wrong hormones. Right? And so the body's going to be out of whack. And then after that, eventually what's going to happen is a breakdown, and he's going to term it autoimmune diseases or cancers. And he knows eventually, and he said it, it's already written in stone. If you continue to embrace the Western diet, ultimately you'll have a cognitive breakdown. It'll lead to dementia, and then after dementia, death. So what type of being are you dealing with when everything he gives you is death? Even if he gives it to you in the nicest way. Blanco come around with his ice cream and his cookies and cakes and his bread and gives you food stamps to buy this ice cream, cookies, cakes, and bread and says, oh, here are these crystals. I hope you enjoy them. I'm out here doing God's work. Which God is he which work is he doing? You better know which work he doing. And you better know the key players behind it. All right? And remember when we told you, when I was telling you about how I brought out that gem in Henrietta Lacks' book by Rebecca Skloot, when she talked about the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase A. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase A, right? Say that was a unique gene, genetic marker that wasn't found even in other melanated people, just specifically with us here in these states, right? Okay, glucose, a crystal, a certain crystal that was unique to us. See, that's in the 60s. They started to find out that not only they knew when they stole the information with Napoleon, right? When France and all that different stuff, they already knew what they was on to, right? And that's the ones who monopolized Egyptology, right? Wouldn't let us know what our ancient ancestors were talking about, but it's too late. This is the age of the great reveal, so we own their ass. They're not going to be able to hold it back any longer. But the fact of the matter is that when they got over here and they started to be able to detail it a little bit more with their newfound scientific equipment, they was like, oh shit, we got to go ham on them. That's when we started to see the drugs manipulate. Because remember, cocaine, the coca plant, it's not white. That's after it's processed. You get crack cocaine. Okay? The Blanco like, oh, we're going to give them these crystals, that crystal. We're going to flood them with the wrong crystals. We're going to flood them with the wrong crystals. War on drugs, war on melanated people. is what you have to understand. That is the end game. If you want to make it to the next level, you have to start disassociating yourself from the artificial matrix as much as you possibly can, right? Like we said, and this is what we're going to discuss, because so often, like we said before, a lot of us say, okay, well, what does that detail, right? And a lot of it doesn't, other measures that certain people want you to take doesn't always work for us. But we know when we have our foundation correct, that puts us in position to move in leaps and bounds. So one, you want to make sure that the vehicle that's used for the crystals, which we know is a form of plasma they call water, has to be right. So you want to get you a filter system. You want to have a filter on your shower. Okay, you want to have a filter. If you can get a filter that not only filters it through reverse osmosis, but also has a remineralization filter attached to it, which I've already recommended a product in a previous segment. Get that. When your water's right, now make sure your crystals are right. So now when you get these crystals, the cocoa and the cinnamon, any crystal you use, do your research. I guarantee you there's another type of that crystal. You want to make sure. But see, think about it. Some people say that's a lot to do. Don't you deliberate more when you get cars and clothes? I've seen people in shopping centers walk around the clothing aisle for hours before they find what they want. Walk around the shoe store for hours. But then when they got to research what's right for their body, I don't have the time. That's too long. I don't have the time. I don't have the time to know which cinnamon is what cinnamon. But I have 2 hours to look at Nikes, though. You know what I'm saying? So let me look at this chat. Says excuse me. Bama Girl says that why they want our plasma so bad. They trying to find a way to break that rare crystal. Of course, remember what I told you guys? I said they on the moon. Remember they was on the moon with your plasma. Them blackos was on the moon with your plasma. They said they was at the International Space Station trying to figure out how this plasma worked, because we couldn't manipulate it on Earth. So we had to go to the moon and deconstruct this crystal. We got to know how to deal with these Negroes or African Americans or indigenous or whoever you want to call yourself. Just know that it's about your crystal bond that you have. The crystal bond you have with your central power source that you call the sun, that we're in the process of solo geoengineering, because all of it boils down to manipulating the sexual energy. That's why, like we said before, we've seen these allegations be put forth against people in high places. And of course, like I said, it doesn't excuse these individuals. When you take a look at my segment and I talked about how we should look at who's anchoring these individuals, the puppeteers rather than the puppets. But it just goes to show that this is why it's in your face. This is why, sexual energy is all in your face, because they want you to peer behind the veil. Unfortunately, when they show it to us or put it out there, we look at it one-dimensionally. We be talking about what somebody do in their bedroom. When they like, yeah, that's a little bit of it, but that's not all. What we're letting you know is that we are manipulating this energy, and we're just showing it to you at the surface level. Getting you caught up in what Diddy did, or what T.D. Jakes did, or what Jeffrey Epstein did, and who he did it with, and all of that. But at the end of the day, we're also showing you at the secular level, when we talk about solar geoengineering and blocking out the sun and controlling the foods, controlling, causing the vehicles of this sexual energy, like the birds and the bees, to go extinct. When you hear trees going extinct, birds and bees going extinct, the vehicles of sexual energy is being tampered with. Because this sexual energy is it's everything. You see, it's the opportunity or the bridge that you use to get from the natural to the supernatural. And they are fully aware of it. This sexual energy can be in the form of fruits. This sexual energy can be in the form of plastic. This sexual energy can be in the form of gasoline and oil. It's all sexual energy. And this is what's so hard for us to conceptualize. We never look at it like that. Like it's everything around us. This is the power of alchemical thought, brothers and sisters. You relieve yourselves from the box. Think outside the box. It's easier to think outside the box when you're not in the box to begin with. Get the fuck out the box. Somebody say, think outside the box. I advise you to get the fuck out the box if you can. Move, grab your shit. You know what I'm saying? Get out of the box. You know what I mean? So, it says, I want to ask you this, Hebu, because I heard Bobby Hemmett say how we are carbon beings and they are carbon based. Can you explain that? Excellent question, Black Sun. Yeah, that goes back to what we were saying before about the nature of carbon, right? And with the different types of carbon, obviously would be pheomelanin and eumelanin. Remember, these are the people who call themselves eugenicists. The prefix EU means good, the best. You see what I'm saying? So they were already had a movement where they talk about how they had the best genes or the best crystals, if you will, right? But ours is the eumelanin. And then I told you guys to get a book by Nina G. Jablonski, right, entitled Skin, where she takes a look at these cells, these melanosomes or these melanocytes, right, that carry or hold these very powerful crystals, right? This carbon energy. And so ours is oval shaped. There's the physical attributes that we can look at is that it's more oval shaped. The chemical characteristics that we look at is that it holds a lot more energy, right? Holds a lot more energy, right? A lot more radiation, if you will, whatever you want to call it. So that's what makes us different, is that our crystals is different. Our crystal energy is a lot more powerful, a lot more radioactive. Remember, in my first channel, if you rock with the FOS God since the beginning, you know that I used to call us radioactive beings. But like I said, I want to gradually step back into these things because, like I'm telling you, there is no other quest in life that an individual should be aspiring to than to be an alchemist, because with alchemy you are intent on transforming yourself to the best version of yourself. And like you said, the first way in order to do that is to make sure you are aware of what the energy is. But that's the point. When he talked about being different carbon beings, remember, pheomelanin, eumelanin are different forms of carbon. That's the type of carbon that so-called Europeans have, and individuals who are further away from the eumelanin side of the spectrum. Okay, they have the pheomelanin, which is the reddish brown combination of melanin, which is, not oval shaped. It's a lot smaller. It doesn't hold as much radiation. That's why it's susceptible to UV damage, right? Breaking up. Okay. And this is what can encourage skin cancer. It's 3 different types of skin cancer. You have melanoma, which involves the melanocytes. You have squamous cell, which is the flat cells, and you have basal cell carcinoma. So squamous cell carcinoma, basal cell carcinoma, and melanoma. But obviously the damage to that melanin or those crystals is what causes, because remember, it's a breakup of light. Just like if you get hit, you bruise, you're going to have breakups of light. You're going to be all sorts of colors or all sorts of lights or all sorts of crystals. And then when you get hit in that light or those crystals, don't you see them? You see stars. It's about I see stars, or you see crystals. You see the crystals' visual makeup. This shit is deep. And yet we sit up here wonder how we get to the highest level, and it's right here in our face. But we know that everything is hidden in plain sight. I ain't got to tell the obvious to the crystalogians. Okay? Chef say he wasn't ready. Okay. Do you think that the solar flares are activating those crystals in our carbon bodies? Says Bama Girl. Of course. But then, remember, a lot of the solar flares and stuff that they talk about is associated with space. I'm just, I told you I believe in the Most High when she said that she created a dome. So I really don't believe in space. The radiation that we get from the sun, regardless of, they want to call it solar flares or whatever. Mind you, it's responsible for the nature, the intensity of the crystals that we get. Because remember, it's about intensity. Because you can have an artificial light and it's going to shoot out its form of crystals. That's where the color and the light comes. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is, right? And that's why it's unhealthy for us. That's why we always have to get that solar radiation, because of its light intensity. That's explained in this book. Melatonin, your body's natural wonder drug, right? Tells you about the importance of life. It complements the book by Nina G. Jablonski, which is Skin, and talks about that too as well. But yeah, this bonding that goes on. Remember, we are made of decomposed plant material, and plant material, we got the plants' sexual energy running through our veins. We're eating sexual energy from the plants. That's running through our veins, right? And these crystals, like we talked about, they form in such a way to where they reflect light. And this light, when it's in certain positions, it sends out messages on what to do and how to do things. Just like if you put this, like if you get a laser, you get a microscope. And if you focus the sun's light, it can become a laser. You could burn ants, burn leaves, and you know what I'm saying? But if the sun's energy is put out in a, in a normal way, then it's most organisms could take it in its natural state. But when you start divvying up the sun's energy, like we talked about, the electromagnetic spectrum, when you start slicing off the radio waves, the microwaves, the X-rays, the gamma rays, you can then slice the sun's energy and use it for different things: commercial applications, military applications, health applications. We all had it, unfortunately, most people may have had an X-ray before, right? We all have used radio waves with the radio. We use microwaves with our cell phone. But this is sexual energy being reconstituted in different forms, which is the most amazing. As an alchemist, that has got to be the most amazing thing I've ever tried to wrap my head around. That this energy can be everything, all one thing. It's not separated. And that's the poison of European science, is that it can be a different thing. We compartmentalize our thought, and that makes it impossible to become one with the energy around you, because you think, oh, I got to take this route, I got to take that route. No, you just have to know what the energy is. And with that comes the knowledge of everything. Because it is everything. That's the beauty of this. Said the reason I asked is because I've noticed that those huge flares, I've had intense back spasms during, along my spinal cord. Yeah, that could be possible. Like you could have, there's a lot of people very sensitive to a lot of things. The sun, increasing the level of sensitivity comes about through what you're eating, what you're watching. It's obviously a holistic experience, right? It involves everything. And so, yeah, if you feel that type of sensitivity, it's important for you to really make it a point to ensure that you got the right crystals in your body, because you may put yourself potentially in a position to transform. And I mean, on some just super wild stuff, right? Whatever that is your forte, right? Because who knows what your thoughts are. But if you starting to feel that type of energy, that Kundalini connection from your central power source, I would advise you to, Bama girl, to make sure that you're taking in the crystals that can to maximize that light energy that you're getting from the central power source, because that's only a sign. And it's not by chance that you're at this platform understanding the power of crystals, right? Because remember, as we read that article about crystallography, come on now, let's go. Let me share my screen right quick. It said that the goal of the International Year of Crystallography was to raise awareness about the power of crystals. This was their goal. These Blancos came together and was like, we want y'all to understand how powerful this is. We don't care if everybody else get it, but we letting you know that we know exactly what's going on. That's what we letting you know. We letting you know that we know exactly what's going on. So I love it when I hear individuals, even if they're not talking to me or it's not directed at me. You got people out here making shows about how way off the conscious community is. And I do make myself a part of the conscious community because I know what the real conscious community does and has done, right? So I make no qualms about being, and I'm not embarrassed about being a part of that community. So I say that when they say that we off on the fringe, here it is right here. If there's anybody who's a conspiracy theorist, it's this Blanco, because he's telling you that he allocated a year and wanted it to reverberate into the future, that he knows the power of crystals and he wants to commemorate it with a special year to let you know that he knows what it is, and he's going to continue to keep exploiting it because he knows what it is. Notice all those crystals that they finding now. New rocks. Rocks ain't nothing but crystals. They telling you the new crystals they finding over in the Congo, which lies on the equator. Why wouldn't it have some powerful crystals or what you know as vibranium all in that ground? Because it's getting the sun's crystals beat at it day in, day out, forming some of the most beautiful crystals known to man. You see? Bam Girl said, appreciate you, brother. No doubt. You see what I'm saying? If you guys got any, we got a few minutes before that 2-hour mark. I don't want them to crash this segment. So if you guys got a couple more questions, I'll wait in the chat for a second. Wait for the chat, because I know that there's a delay. But yeah, we can, like I said, this is supposed to be more interactive than anything else. I know I had, some things to say and to present, but I want to make sure that you guys, any thoughts or any, questions you may have about chemistry, alchemy, things like that, put them in the chat. We'll try to tackle them right quick. We'll try to make it short and straight to the point. Okay. So I'm gonna just go through this. Chevy said Savage Grow, cold blooded. Yeah, these right, motherfucker go steal they herbal knowledge and then call it Savage Grow. It's savages. But you couldn't do it in your lab, And it's funny how, speaking of that, like, he didn't want the herbs, but you know that the Blancos say he can't patent nothing natural, but that's his excuse. That's another excuse. That's a veil. Oh, you can't patent nothing natural. Nah, you can't handle the sun's energy. Remind you, the plants and the fruit all encapsulate the solar energy. I told you guys, if a person can't be in the sun, what makes you think they can eat the food that comes from the sun? You got to catch up. You can't be in the sun. You can't eat the food that comes from the sun. So I got to, I got to create an artificial matrix. It's my only shot at survival. My only shot at survival. All right. Let's see. So I'm gonna check them. Go right down here. See if there's any questions. I say Hamichi says, do you think trees could communicate without the mycelium network? And then I'm Dion says, is hoodoo voodoo considered alchemy? Okay, first one. Do you think the trees could communicate without the mycelium network? I don't know. I think that fungus, obviously that fungus in and of itself is extremely important for the network. But remind you, this is the thing. What we got to realize, this is the point of this existence. It's about symbiosis. You see what I'm saying? Remember, think about your cells. The whole idea from the Blanco is that you have prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells, right? Prokaryotic cells contain, a simple cell organism. Doesn't even contain a nucleus, I don't believe. I have to go back. All this information is rummage. But then you have eukaryotic. Eukaryotic contains a nucleus. It contains, the ribosomes, the lysosomes, what else does it contain? It contains the mitochondria. It contains the Golgi apparatus, etc. So you get my point. It contains all of these compartments within the cell. So it's a complex cell. Human beings and animals are eukaryotic cell organisms. Bacteria, viruses supposedly are prokaryotic, simple cell organisms. So from the European scientific perspective, the European has stated that as far as evolution was concerned, simple cell organisms or some prokaryotic cells came together and said, okay, you do this, I do that. Let's just share responsibilities. Okay? And this is what created the eukaryotic cell and then evolved. That's the whole premise. That's the whole idea. That's the thought of how life started, or one of the ideas of how life started with European science. So even if you took it for a grain of salt, the point that I'm trying to make from your question is that life is all about cooperation. So with the fungus and the trees, they exist, coexist together because they need each other. That's why, like you said, the birds and the bees and all of these different things, act as agents or vehicles for sexual transmission and energy. We have our footprint, if you want to say it that way, on Earth, right? And what we do and the impact we make on Mother Earth and Mother Nature. And unfortunately, at this point in time, because there's another crystal energy that's in control, it hasn't worked out so well. But when it is rocking and rolling and at its balance, when we are at the helm or when we are on the throne, then there is Earth she's living her best life, and we're living our best life. You see what I'm saying? So there is a need for cooperation. That is symbolic even of the periodic table of elements. There is a need for cooperation. Life wants to bond. You see what I'm saying? That's organic chemistry. It's about bonding. Whether it bonds covalently, whether it bonds ionically, whether it bonds metallically. You see what I'm saying? It's the nature of the bond. It's the nature of attraction. Remember these laws of attraction. See, so it is this nature that is essential for life, period. So, like we said, yeah, it's definitely not about an organism trying to be on its own, because that's just not the nature of this existence amongst many other things. Now, the other question was, let's see, is hoodoo voodoo considered alchemy? Voodoo was rooted in alchemy in the sense that it put representations of the energy. Remember, like, you have what's the name? Man, you got me going back in my mental library and stuff. But I felt, a lot of the gods, it's hard for me to, get the name, Ogun and all that different stuff. But these gods were representation, because remember you had, what is the chief god? But it would, all the other guys are just representations of his energy. Just like, that was the idea behind African spirituality, was that these, all other energy was just representations of God's energy. You see what I'm saying? The angels were extensions of God's energy. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, this is a danger of certain sciences when you personify God's energy and make, that's called the anthropomorphizing, or making energy human, turning the sun into a woman or the sun into a man. That's the danger of human beings. And that's how you fold up the secret though. You see what I'm saying? Because when you know that there's power in this, in the foods and the fruits and the vegetables and stuff, then you go away from this, I gotta walk to a human being or be touched by a human being in order to get this energy. The energy is in the things around you. But you gotta make sure the crystals that hold this energy are the ones that you should be taking in. All right, to access that energy. Okay, since we are crystal beings, should we be living on or close to the equator where the sun is most closest to the planet? Well, says Tracy Jackson. Yeah, that's the most desirable outcome, right? You know what I'm saying? And I've already, I did a video where I talked about how, they've lied about, the tropical zone and subtropical regions and stuff. And so now that also helps to build the framework for climate change, right? Because then you're under the impression that the vast majority of the earth wasn't always warm. Michigan, these areas, even where I'm at, these places were naturally warm. Okay? You see what I'm saying? It was through manipulating the earth's crystals. Remind you, when you cool the earth, what does the earth release? She releases her crystals. You know them as snowflakes. Oh my God. Let's stop it. Let's stop it. When they cool the earth shows you her crystals. You think because water just changed to it that makes it better? That was always there. It underwent a transformation. It was always a crystal. But then you were able to see it in physical form when they cooled the plasma energy. Okay? All right? But yeah, it's always best to be by the equator. But if you notice, those who live by the equator, they under duress. The Congo, all places by the equator is 13 countries that lie on the equator. 13, okay? And all of them that lie on the equator, including the Congo, they're under duress because that's where all the minerals and all of the heavy stuff is, all of the powerful crystals from Earth. That's why it's under siege. Remember, the entire continent of Africa is in the tropical region. It's right by the sun. That's why it was the first place that it be taken over. It is the land of crystals. Okay? Any book recommendations for understanding alchemical symbols, says Sweet Butterfly Girl 17. Yeah, if you can get your hands on as many books in terms of Secrets of Alchemy. The one book that helped me, especially when I was on my alchemical journey, it was the Dummies Guide. Them dummy books, the Dummies Guide book for alchemy. That's a good one. It's got a lot of gems in there. Anything that, like you said, has anything to understanding the symbols and the alchemical energy around you, in terms of the basics. You're going to get that from the periodic table of elements. You don't want to get so caught up into that because, mind you, that's just the surface level stuff. It's the, like we talk about, we want to get the stuff behind it. And when you understand the crystal makeup of things, right? And then you begin to know, then you start to research the different crystals. Because that's alchemy. Alchemy is really what you put to work, not so much as what you know all the time. Because once your foundation is correct, there's so many crystals on this planet, you could spend a lifetime just knowing about crystals, right? And if you notice, even the chosen tribes were all symbolically represented by a crystal. The tribe of Reuben, they had the ruby. This tribe had the ruby. This tribe had sapphire. This tribe had this. They showed you that each tribe had a specific crystal. Oh my goodness, man. This is deep. So you have to go into understanding what crystal works for you. Like I said, I gave the story of how I had an affinity for cocoa when I was little. You see what I'm saying? And cinnamon. Those crystals have helped to keep me cognitively sharp, to keep me physically healthy, to give me tons of energy. But I had to get them in their correct form. You see what I'm saying? Kahi says that movie Lucy, she could see that tree. Oh, see, they never stop. I'm glad you pointed that out because that was deep symbolism. That was heavy. That was heavy. And as you've seen that The tree, what a lot of people looked over was that she's seen all of the lines of communication with the radiation, the microwaves, right, from the cell phones. But you also notice that was connected to the tree energy as the energy was going in and out of the tree. You see what I'm saying? So you got done, like they're showing you this energy is all connected and it's all sexual energy. Just because they artificially created does not mean that it's not going to have an impact on the natural matrix. That's exactly why they're doing it. It's impacting the natural matrix. This is the point. Okay. Bama Girl says, does alkaline water help or hurt when you are trying to attain the highest level of the chakras? I heard your body can get too alkaline. Yeah, you definitely have to have that's a good question. You definitely have to have a balance, right? Because there are some things that some nutrients that the body, let me minimize this so I make sure I'm talking to screen. Some things that the body has to be in an acidic, to chemically react, has to be in an acidic environment, right? You can be too alkaline, right? So the thing is, the body is perfect. It does this naturally. It stays at around, water in and of itself stays at around 7.1, 7.2. So it's slightly alkaline. But water is bipolar. It's polar. It contains negative and positive. It's slightly acidic and slightly base, right? That's the anomaly of water. You see what I'm saying? So the idea is understanding that the best part about what you have to do with your water is this. Make sure it's filtered, like we said, containing as less TDS or total dissolved solids. That means, toxic minerals, metals, fluoride, all those different chemicals, right, that saturate our water supply now. And so once you do that, if you don't have a remineralization filter that adds the minerals back into it, that's fine. You just make sure that you now mix crystals like cocoa, right? Or like acai, or like whatever that suits your needs. You got to make sure it suits your needs, right? Or cinnamon. And you mix that in that water. And aloe vera is the bomb.com, I'm telling y'all, right? So you mix these right crystals. Remember, they call aloe vera fruits of the earth. We know fruits is the ovaries of a female plant, and it also is crystals. It contains a ton of sugar that you can't taste, or crystals that you can't taste. But don't sleep on the power, right? So the point being is that you can alkalize the body when you give it the right minerals and metals and stuff, if you will, right? And then you make sure that you also respond with drinking free water, as they call it, water without any responsibilities. So when we drink our mixed drinks like our cocoa waters and our juices and stuff like that, make sure you accompany that with free water, because water needs to bond. And if you drink something that already has made its bonds, brothers and sisters, then it's going to be looking for the water in your body to break the crystals apart. Okay? So this is how we go through the process of making our crystals work. We mix them with fresh water that can make the bonds. Remember, I gave you the example of Kool-Aids, brothers and sisters. When you mix Kool-Aid, like, it's making electrical bonds. Water is electrical, right? And then you put sugar in there, and then when you mix too much sugar, what happens? It goes to the bottom because no more bonds can be made. So what's going to happen? That mixed drink is going to go in your body and try to search out for water that can break those bonds apart. Okay? So that's how we do that, because it's not as easy as just alkaline, heavy alkaline water. And people have done that because they know that most people's bodies, especially if you eat a Western diet, it's acidic, right? But it has to be a balance. And if you're eating the correct things, your body will be alkaline naturally. Okay, let's get that right, brothers and sisters. When you're eating the correct things, your body will be alkaline naturally. All right. So let's see. Good question. I need a good balance of alkaline. So it says cocoa was called food of the gods and mushrooms were called flesh of the gods by the Aztecs. Do you think mushrooms are crystals since they don't absorb the sun directly? Yeah, because nothing. Yeah, or remember, organic. Let's get this in our head. Excellent question, because it shows you how quickly we can, forget that everything bonds in crystal formation. If it's carbon, it bonds in crystal formation. It may look like a mushroom, but at the molecular level, it's a crystal. Like you said, when you look at milk, when you look at the lactose, you don't see, let's go back. Let me show you. Right? All right. Because this is deep. I'm glad Hamichi said that. This is deep. I'm finna share my screen because I got to make this point. Okay? So when we look at lactose, once again, we don't see this. But our body, our higher side, your spiritual side sees the crystals. Your body sees the crystals. Remember, you have an innate intelligence. When you eat, everything breaks down to these crystals or sugar. The Blancos told you that. Proteins, fats, carbs, all break down to simple sugars. All break down to these crystals. See, what you see is what the macrocosm. The body sees things at the micro level, and the micro level is crystals. The micro level is crystals. So yeah, excellent question, but yep, still crystals. Still crystals. Okay. Let's see. We got, now that I think about it, with Sonic the Hedgehog, he needed 7 Chaos Emeralds to go soup. Yeah, they need the emeralds, the crystals. Remember, the game Tetris is like that, where you get the blocks, and if you make the correct combinations, when they fit right, you get gems, you get crystals. You get crystals. I talk about that in the book, The Untold Story of the Carbon Baby. You see what I'm saying? I talk about that in the book. You know what I mean? So, I hope you guys got a better understanding. If there's no more questions, I'll wait a couple more minutes because I'm over the 2-hour mark, but I think we're going to be able to get it done. No, it ain't. Let's say hour and 46 minutes. All right, we good for a second or so. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted you guys to understand the power of crystals and the power, sexual energy, being the base, the foundation, but its physical shape. If it were to have a shape of any kind, it would be a crystal. You see what I'm saying? And so we got to start looking at the world around us very differently, so different that it encourages us to act differently, right? It gives us a high sense of urgency, where we're like, man, I got to do the right thing. I got to take in the right energy. I got to keep the right energy, coming in terms of spiritually. I got to make sure that I create a solid spiritual foundation and network. Everybody who I'm around is vibing on this. And so when we talk about everybody wishes my channel was bigger, remember they said that the chosen it would be those who take the narrow road. This wouldn't be for everybody. You see, you have to really, like Bobby Hemmett said, he said you really got to praise yourself for on a Thursday at 9 o'clock, you up here interested in esoteric information. And not somewhere worrying about what Cassie and Diddy is doing. Or all of that, like we said, at the surface level, distractions all they may be. But if we were to pay attention to it, let's remind ourselves that it has an esoteric nature to it. You know what I'm saying? And if people ain't trying to get you on that, then they wasting your time. They wasting your time. You see what I'm saying? So I had to clear this up because I wanted you guys to understand the power of crystals. And more importantly, I wanted you guys to know from these articles, you can come back to this video and you can show people. You can look up that Encyclopedia Britannica article and show them that crystals is what bond. That's what they're talking about. It's crystals that's bonding. You see this ionic, covalent, metallic, no matter what bond you're talking about, they just, we failed to mention these is what crystals are doing. See, that would have perked me up in chemistry class. We made of crystals? You know what I'm saying? Bama Girl says, please do another live discussing the connection between spirituality and science. Oh, listen, this is going to be a part 3 of Crystal Wars, and the part 3 is going to be ridiculous. Y'all think listen, and don't I always, when I say I'm about to bring the heat, do I bring the heat? I just wanted to interact with you guys more because I wanted to make sure that we got this. Because so many times, so often, you can go through information and people are like, yeah, it sounds a little bit good. No, you have to understand, look at this differently. This is the foundation of life is crystals. They made it, it's an international year for it. This is how they looked at DNA. Okay. So when you get these brothers talking about, DNA and the DNA and the genetics and DNA, well, ask the brother next time they talk about DNA. Ask them, how did they come up with DNA? I bet you ain't gonna hear nothing but silence from these niggas. You're not gonna hear with nothing but silence. You're gonna ask them. Now, remember I told you the power of the Blanco woman. Remember, she let the Blanco man get credit. She let James Watson and Francis Crick get credit for discovering the DNA molecule. But it wasn't them. It was some woman who was in occult science called Rosalind Franklin. All right, who gave them a photo and told them what she saw from this science that she used to study crystals. Now that sounds sci-fi, especially considering, man, hold on. Nah, I just got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. Hold on, brothers, because I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it because we showed this before. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. This was the photo, brothers and sisters. And it's called the UFO photo. She took this using X-ray crystallography. The first X-ray diffraction image of DNA. This is what she used. Rosalind Franklin. Okay? Rosalind Franklin. Oh, they let me get it. It was a link. Yeah, there we go. We went around them. Making life crystal clear. Crystal clear. Rosalind Franklin in the DNA scavenger hunt. We showed you how they looked at viruses and proteins at the base level. They are crystals. They are crystals, brothers and sisters. She was an expert in a technique called X-ray crystallography. Her work would hold the key to discovering the structure of DNA, the blueprint of life. So the blueprint of life called DNA was discovered by a process used to figure out how crystals form. Man, hold up. So brothers and sisters, are y'all understanding what I'm telling y'all, man? Are y'all understanding what I'm telling y'all? How many people, like I said, tell you these things? You have brothers and sisters running off at the mouth about DNA and all of this Blanco science and stuff. And what's going on, right? What's going on is that, you know, one thing that you see is crystals being behind it all. And nobody wants to talk about it because nobody can talk about it because they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm telling you how important it is. Hold on, let me check the chat. You know, make sure there's not any more questions before we wrap this up. Man, they make it so hard to. Bama Girl said I'm about to get Heru's book ASAP. Yeah, and then actually I'm going to be going live again Saturday. And on Saturday, we're going to be giving away 3 of the books. Okay, so Saturday, I'm going to be giving away 3, The Untold Story of the Carbon Baby. So make sure you're there because I'm going to be asking y'all questions about this. Now, you can cheat if you want to. So if you win the book and you did it by cheating, that's on you and karma to figure out. But we're going to be going over some of these things. And I want to ask you questions, see how much we've learned and how much we retain. Because that's extremely important, right? I want to make sure that you guys get this so that you see life in a different light. Oh yeah, and Rich, I think it's Guinness or Rich Jeans or Janice. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that name right, but he said I like this. They said I would like for you to build on your true religion. Yeah, that series was dope. You know what I'm saying? I think I may have to, upload that again because I do have those videos saved from my old channels. Black Sun, is aloe vera juice good to drink? Oh yeah, of course. If you can tolerate aloe vera juice, when you first start drinking it, like even I'm gonna tell you, it's an acquired taste. I didn't like it, but after a while, I'll be at work, because they have us busting out 10s and 12s. That's why, of course, I can't drop as much. They be trying to. I call it the plantation station. They be working us, but at the end of the day, I have a lot of energy. And the aloe vera juice, that's the fruit of the earth. It contains, remember I told you, it contains those vital brain sugars. Because your brain is operating off a different type of sugar complex, a different crystal. It takes that glucose and creates what's called glycoprotein. So it creates a complex, a different type of crystal than your body. All right? The brain uses a special type of crystal. And just by chance, like we said, if you don't have the right aloe vera juice, they're taking out those brain crystals. Okay, so you want the aloe vera juice that has the polysaccharides, okay, stuff like that. Oh, mentioning that cocoa, and to that question, You know, when he said the cocoa beans or the cocoa powder, you can get both, but you want to make sure that the cocoa powder obviously is spelled that way, right? And here's the beans that I buy too, which are like the fermented beans. Tastes just like chocolate. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's not as sweet because it's no added sugar or anything like that, but great to put in your smoothies, drinks, or top it and stuff like that, and you're getting that powerhouse. You're getting that superfood, right? Remember the cinnamon too as well. Aloe vera, like I said, is great, especially after you eat. It's not real good if you haven't been drinking it for a while to do it on an empty stomach, although that's what I do. Like these next 2 or 3 days and this weekend, I'm doing nothing but my cocoa and cinnamon and my aloe vera juice. So it's like I'm doing a cocoa/aloe vera juice fast for the next 2-3 days. See what I'm saying? So I started the first day, and then I just been drinking on my cocoa all day, and then I'm gonna have my aloe vera a little bit later, probably like the next half hour, and then I'm gonna end it with drinking my cocoa and my cinnamon before I go to bed. That's my next 2 or 3 days. So that's my therapy. Remember, it said, "Let your food be thy medicine, and let your crystals be thy medicine." Let your crystals be thy medicine, brothers and sisters. You see what I'm saying? So look in this chat one more time. Shouts out to Emery too. Sent $13 for appreciate the knowledge. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Thank you. Appreciate your support. If you guys want to support, always Cash App Heyru377 $Heyru377. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'd rather get directly instead of Amazon, eBay, etc. But I'm sure they're cool too. So Kahi, yeah, you can also. I think Waba put my email in the chat. So if you guys want to order the book from me directly, you can do that too, and I'll autograph the book too as well, so that you can always do it that way. All right. Experiment with okra water. Oh, say Jay Chosen said I'm experimenting with okra water. Yeah, let me know how that turns out, because like I said, everybody doing, and if we all doing different crystal work, I want to see what you guys come up with. You see what I'm saying? Like Theo Brome ain't the only food of the gods. You know what I mean? So y'all start on your quest. This becomes amazing. You know that the crystals that the Blanco giving you is meant to destroy you, hands down. And stop acting like he don't know what he doing and she don't know what she doing. That's what you better know. She know what she doing. One more question. Does rabies come from a breakdown of sugar crystals? Okay, sugar snap peas taste like electrically charged water. I think that's a great source of hydration. Yep. Hamichi, you could be right on that. The snap peas. All right. Jay Chosen said I sent my donation to the wrong Cash App. Yeah, it should be. Let me double check, make sure I'm giving, because yeah, it's yeah, because I don't, obviously since I don't get a lot of cash, and that's not a bad thing, Yes, $Heyru377. So $Heyru Heru 377 is the Cash App. You know what I'm saying? So sorry that you had that experience, Jay. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so. For the most part, excuse me. So let's get with the rabies question right quick. The rabies question, okay, you said there's one more question. Does rabies come from a breakdown of sugar crystals? Of course, it's not necessarily the breakdown, it's the feeding of, because remember, rabies is just Latin for the term rabire, which means to rage. But the rabies is caused by a fungus. And we know fungus as well as bacteria. Every organism on this planet feeds off sugar. And the brain makes a specialized form of this sugar or crystal. That's the reason why the brain protects itself with something called the blood-brain barrier. Okay? This is important. The brain protects itself with something called the blood-brain barrier to prevent bacteria and viruses and fungus from getting through, because we know at the end of the day, all organisms want to feed on sugar. And your central source, it's like the bank, like the vault that carries the gold. That is the brain. It contains like the creme de la creme. So that's what every organism wants to get to. It may be participating with you in the dynamics of life, but if you ever let it get to your brain, it ain't going to waste no opportunity to do so. That's one thing you got to you were born with the gift, and it is this ability to make the best crystals, and your brain does that. That's what the gift is. That's what separates you from all the other animals, is your ability to make the best crystals, to refract light in ways to where not only do you take in more information, but you can act this information out. That is the key. All right. So yeah, the fungus eats on these crystals and it causes a breakdown. And the fungus then takes over the organism. That was the whole thing. And then now it can use that organism to do what? Get more of these crystals. If you know, zombies are symbolic. A zombie wants what? It don't want no rest of the other crystals. It wants the most powerful crystals housed in the brain. That's why zombies symbolically eat brains, because that is the house of the most paradoxical crystals known to man, because the energy that they hold and contain, nobody really knows its true potential, what it can really actually accomplish, right? But we do know that regardless of how you see it or what potential you think it holds, it is the bridge from the natural to the supernatural when you're taking in the right crystals. And it's housed in the brain. It's housed in the brain. Okay? All right. So in your email, if you want the book, when you send your information, obviously send your address, who you want the book made out to, and obviously make sure you send your actual name because it's being delivered. So we want to make sure it's delivered to the right person. And what I actually do is to make sure, you get it. I always pay for it to be signed to make sure that you got your book, because, there's times when people say I didn't get it or it didn't come and all that. So remind you, if you order it from me, that's always going to be a feature, or that's going to be something that you're going to have available for you, so that we make sure that there's no mix-ups, right? That you actually get the book. You know what I'm saying? And so and I'll give you all the other details, like the cost and all that, because it varies. Like if you get 2 books, you get obviously we work with you and stuff like that. So yeah, make sure you include that in your information. Also, so don't worry about it too, because if you send information, I'll remind you of what to send me, so that we make sure that you get your book. Okay. And Saturday I should be going live probably around 7 or 8. It may be a little later, like 9, because you know what I'm saying, I always gotta go. Me, I'm a mama's boy. I always gotta go see my mama and mess with her. You know what I'm saying? Make sure she all right and stuff like that on my weekends and stuff. And as well as I'll be kicking it with my sisters and stuff. We real tight. Me and my sisters is close. But besides that, we doing research. We make sure that we bring y'all the heat, because we're gonna keep going off and giving y'all this great information, right? So I said all that to say this. I say that who is God? And we know that God is the judge. And why is she the judge? Because she decides who wins and loses, not my opponent. Who is my opponent? He does not exist. And why does he not exist? Because he is merely a dissenting voice to the truth I speak. FOF Squad, speak the truth.